All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the All Sports All Plays Network. But before we jump into it, guess what? We have some breaking news to announce to you. And since it deals with Will's least favorite guy in the NFL, Mr. Will Polston, you go ahead and you deliver that breaking news.
Oh, thank you, Ace. Thank you. So, breaking news, according to Adam Schefter, that the Detroit Lions are dealing quarterback Matthew Stafford over to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for 2 future first-round picks, a third-round pick, as well as quarterback Jared Goff. So, Goff, congrats. You're on the Lions. Stafford, congrats for getting out of there. And can't wait to see you twice a year, old buddy. We're going to come real familiar with each other real quick. So, can't wait to see you over there in the NFC North. Congrats to Matt Stafford getting out of that situation. Jared Goff, you're in for a world of hurt, buddy.
All right. So now before we talk on it a little bit more, I am Ace from the West Coast. I am joined tonight by none other than J-Mac. I'm not crying, but Will Polston is. And then, so how's it going tonight?
Oh, good. We're good.
All right. And then, of course, we're joined by none other than, like I said, Mr. Will Polston. How's it going tonight, Will?
Oh, phenomenal. The world just keeps becoming a better place as the days go on.
And then, last but not least, we are also joined by the one, the only, the queen of the quack attack, the Vic. How's it going tonight?
It's going all right. Feeling all right.
I love it. All right. So before we jump into our topics, we're going to go ahead and we're going to look a little bit at our sponsor. So our first sponsor that we're going to see is Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. All right, Nate, go ahead and bring it up.
So Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us, from all of us here at the ASAP Network.
And then, of course, that makes you cry every single time. And then, of course, our next sponsor that we're going to look at is Misty Meadows. So, Mr. Nate the Great, go ahead and pull up a little bit of that Misty Meadows.
You know, that song's really intense for some jams and barbecue sauce.
Love it. Hey. Well, because barbecue sauce and jam is actually really, really intense, man. I'm telling you, it's really intense.
You've seen me on this network long enough. You got to know that I like me some barbecue sauce and some jams, okay?
Oh, absolutely. All right.
I think everybody at home knows.
So, Will, one last time, since this is your last show and we're all sad for it. So one last time, you go ahead and tell me, how can our viewers win one of those shirts?
So go ahead, if you want to be the viewer of the month at ASAP Network, go ahead and be down in the comments section. You know, whether you're on Twitch, whether you're on Facebook, no matter where you're watching us, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Make sure you like the page. Make sure you like the video, share the video, do everything you can to help build a brand and help engage with our show. The more engaged you get, we will tally it all up at the end of the month. And if you have the most interactions with the network, then you'll win your very own ASAP Network t-shirt.
Oh, man, Will, you know what, though? I can't come on. I can't comment because I'm busy working. But I still see people have one of those shirts, and I want one. So how can I get one?
Switch shifts. Go to
Right.
day shift, and then you can be on night shift. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead and go message anybody from the network. Go message any one of us. Even though I may not be with the network anymore, if you even message me, I'll get you in contact with the right person, and we'll make sure to go message anybody from the network, any of us or anybody else. Message us $14.99 plus shipping and handling for the T-shirt from sizes small to 2XL. If you're on the big boy side, a little bit extra, but hey, we've been doing that our whole life anyway. It's just extra fabric, man. You got to pay for it. So $14.99 plus shipping and handling, plus or minus big boy fat tax, and we'll get you your very own ASAP Network T-shirt ASAP.
All right. So as we know, we have topics that we talk about every single show that we have. But before we jump into our topics, I think that the news that just broke for us in the NFL world, I feel like that's something that we need to touch on a little bit here. So, J-Mac, I will start with you. What is your thoughts on this epic trade that just happened? How good do you think the LA Rams now are going to be with Matthew Stafford at quarterback? And what is this going to do for Jared Goff?
Sorry, I went dark for a second. I'll fix that in a minute. But I just want to say, as far as I'm concerned, in the NFC North, I'm not concerned at all. I think it will make us better against the Lions. So I worry about nothing now. I worry about it even less because Stafford was a beast and he could get on it. He could come back and win a game. But I worry now not about Jared Goff.
But what do you think that this means for Matthew Stafford with the Rams? How big is this for the LA Rams? How good next year do you think that they can be with the defense they have and a little bit of the offense? And you look at like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee. What do you think this offense is going to look like?
Oh, I think it's going to be great. I think that, for the first time in his career, Matthew Stafford really has a team to play around. And he's got a chance to go to the playoffs and even possibly make a deep run into the playoffs. So I think it's great for Matthew Stafford. He finally gets out of Detroit, finally gets out of a team that doesn't respect him, and he can go in and play with some guys that he can actually have some success with.
Yeah, because I will say this, that NFC West just got a whole lot better, and there's going to be a whole lot more competition now. So Seattle and San Fran and Arizona, you really got to watch out now because this Rams team, going out and getting Matthew Stafford, oh my gosh, this team's going to be really, really good. Like, they're going to be a scary team, and this is going to be a team to watch out for next year. And it would not surprise me if they were able to make it to the NFC Championship. That's how I feel how good this Rams team could be with Matthew Stafford at quarterback. All right, Will, so you go ahead and give me your thoughts on this trade.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I think Matthew Stafford being added to the Rams is something was a place that I was not expecting. In fact, he had released his top 5 teams that he had wanted to be moved to, and that was not on the list. It was the 49ers, the Jets, the Bears were on that list. And I don't remember seeing the Rams on there, so that was kind of shocking to see him get moved over there. But this takes the Rams to a whole new level. This is the one position that they really needed to solidify. Jared Goff, I've harped on him so many times. Everybody knows what I could say about him. Everybody knows what I have said about him. And it's going to continue in Detroit. Now you're putting him behind an even worse offensive line, and you're putting him around even worse weapons. So Jared Goff and the Lions are going to be nothing to worry about. When it comes to Matt Stafford has better weapons now, a better offensive line, a better running back, and a better defense, along with a head coach who is miles ahead of anything he's ever had in Detroit. Now, you give Sean McVay a quarterback that he can actually scheme around and who's not afraid to make those tight throws and can make those tight throws, the Rams are going to be ridiculous. They're going to be so good. They were just a couple. They were one game away this year from an NFC championship. And that was with a hurt Jared Goff. So not even a 100% Goff. So, and without Aaron Donald. So it's crazy to think about that they could get better. But if Aaron Donald gets healthier, Cam Akers has another year in the league, he'll step up his game a little bit. You'll see Cooper Kupp come back. This Rams team is going to be dangerous. I think they're easily the NFC West favorites right now. Obviously, it's way too early to make predictions like that. But just off a first glance from roster, I would take them right away to win that division easily.
Yeah, and you know what? I completely agree with you on the aspect that I for one will tell you now, I'm glad that Stafford is out of the NFC North. I'm so glad about that because I did not, with me being a Packers fan, I hated to face that guy twice a year because every time we faced him, I'm like, you know what? I don't care what their record is. They have a chance of beating you. It did not matter their record because that dude always gave you such an effort and always kept him in the game with nothing. And one thing that he never had a running game, never ever, and he's finally got it, which is going to make him even scarier. All right, Vic, go ahead and tell me your thoughts on this trade.
Well, it was a nice career you had there, Jared Goff, but it's over now. Hope you enjoy all those millions because Detroit's going to just squash you and eat you up and spit you out. So it was nice knowing you. As far as Matthew Stafford of the Rams, he's now got a defense, he's got receivers, he's got a running back, he's got things he's never had before, and he's like a kid in a candy shop now. He's going to be phenomenal. I root for the Seahawks, I do, but with the addition of Stafford, it's going to be a challenge now. So I'm happy for Matthew Stafford finally getting the opportunity he deserves, and I'm happy that Jared Goff's finally getting what he deserves.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to feel good for Stafford at this point. You're like, wow, he's finally to a good situation. So Thank you, Detroit, for realizing he wasn't going to do anything there with what you had. So you might as well ship him to somewhere to where he can actually do something for a team. So thank you for that. All right. So now we can actually jump into our topic. So our first topic that we have tonight is, what is the greatest individual record of all time? And J-Mac, I'll go ahead and start with you. What do you think is the greatest individual record of all time?
I mean, it's tough because you look at the history of sports and you're talking, if you go to the Olympics, you're talking a bunch of years and all that. You got a long time. But for me, I would say the record that I think that's the most individual or the most amazing as an individual is Nolan Ryan with 7 no-hitters. Just what else is there to say? 7 no-hitters? 7. Yeah. Name one other pitcher that's thrown 2. There's not many on that list. So, and he's thrown 7. No one's even got close to that. No matter how many complete games or any of that, 7 no-hitters to me is just no one's ever going to touch that. No one even throws a no-hitter today because they get pulled after 6 innings, even if they have no hits going on. So, no one's going to get 7 no-hitters. That's never going to happen again.
All right. Let's go to Will Polston on this one. What do you think?
I had to stick in baseball, definitely along with J-Mac here. I had a coach that always told me that the best ability is accountability. And the best way to be accountable is to be present. So for me, Cal Ripken Jr., 2,632 consecutive games. Ridiculous. From 1982 to 1998. Over a 16-year span was there for that many consecutive games. This was a time in which Lou Gehrig had held the record around 2,100 games, and that was a record that everybody said would never be beaten. And then here comes Cal Ripken Jr. and smashes it by over 500 games. I've got a list of things that happened in between the first game he played and the last game he played. In that time, we saw 5 different Olympic games. We saw 3 different U.S. presidents take office. We saw 6 Bruce Springsteen albums be dropped, and we saw the introduction of 4 new MLB franchises. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about, and it's never going to be touched again. We credit people nowadays for 162 games. It's impressive to play every single game in a season, but almost everybody who does it doesn't play all 162 the next season. With injuries, with everything else, I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong, and there's so many people who they try. Obviously, they try, and you want to be the guy to break the record, but 2,632 consecutive games. It's never going to be touched again. Like J-Mac said with Nolan Ryan and the 7 no-hitters, it's never going to come close. Now people take rest days and they take personal days or whatever the case may be. There's always something that can keep a player out of at least a couple of games a season. So Cal Ripken, over 2,600 consecutive games. It's phenomenal to me. And it'll never be done again. So that's the most impressive one to me.
I like it. I like both your guys' answers. Now we'll jump to the Vic and see what she has to say.
Well, Will took mine.
No, I'm sorry.
Which is fair because I've probably taken his in the past. But I have a backup.
I also had one in case you took mine.
My backup's also in baseball.
Same.
So yeah, it's Joe DiMaggio, 56-game hitting streak.
Oh, it's not.
Huh?
I said, oh, it's not that one. My backup was not that one, but that's a great one.
Yeah, so he said in 1941, two players have come close. Pete Ruse had 44 game, and Paul Molitor had 39. Still not even within double. They're still double digits away from 56. And in this day and age, with the pitchers coming in, specialty pitchers, 56-game streak, that's untouchable. And Joe DiMaggio was the man. I mean, legendary. That's the one. I feel it's the one record that'll never be touched, ever, not in a lifetime.
All right, I like it. So when we were looking at these greatest individual sports records, I'll tell you, one of the first things I thought of was MLB, because I figured somebody was going to touch on Cal Ripken. I, for one, thought that because, J-Mac has touched on it multiple times, especially when you look at the NFL side, I thought that J-Mac was going to talk about the Iron Man streak in Brett Favre because he's talked about it and how nobody's even really come close to breaking that. And then you talk about the hitting streak, which I'm like, you know what? I could do that. But these are ones that I figured that people would touch on. So I actually went a different route, and I actually chose to go with golf. I chose to go with PGA. And the reason that I chose to go with PGA is I'm going to mention to you a guy by the name of Brian Nelson. And the reason why I'm talking about Brian Nelson is because his name is never brought up. We always hear, Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer and John Daly and guys like that. But we have never heard much about Brian Nelson. But the thing that was impressive with Brian Nelson was back in 1949. And keep in mind, this was 1 year before he was going to retire from golf. He won 18 tournaments that season. 18. Now, out of the 18 he won, how many of those do you think he won consecutively?
18.
He won 11. 11 consecutive.
Nice try, Will. Nice try.
11 consecutive tournaments he won. And you know what's crazy? By even winning 11 consecutive tournaments in golf, nobody's even came close to it. The closest was actually Tiger Woods with 7. But we know that Tiger Woods is never going to get there now. And with that, and people are saying how some people classify Tiger Woods as the greatest of all time. So if people are going to classify Tiger Woods as the greatest of all time in golf, and he got to 7 for one of the longest streaks, I don't even see this being topped anytime soon. This, to me, is very impressive. This is one of the records that have really gone under the radar because people like to look at streaks in baseball and NFL, but they generally don't look at records that come from PGA or NHL and records like that. So that's why I thought that this is one that should definitely be shared, because good luck to any PGA golfer out there. Good luck with coming in and trying to win 11 consecutive tournaments. That's not going to happen. And like I said, this was 1949, just before he retired. So if he's doing this 1 year before he retired, imagine how much golf he could still play. That's why I was really impressed. 1 year before you, I guess, you know what? At least you're finishing on a high note, I guess. So props to you. You know when to walk away. You're like, I'm on a high note, I'm walking away. So congratulations to you. Good job, Brian Nelson. All right. I love that topic, guys. Congratulations. Those were all excellent answers. But if I had to throw in, let's say, I want to know, J-Mac, because you've mentioned this before. So we talk about the Iron Man streak. So, Will, I have to know, do you think this Iron Man streak will ever be broken when we go towards Brett Favre with the 297 consecutive NFL games started?
I mean, probably not. I mean, the NFL stands for not for long. You know, whenever it comes to that, most players don't play that many games in their career. You know, we're talking 16 games a season. I'm not great at math, but I can tell you that's a lot of consecutive seasons without missing a game. You know, people can go their whole collegiate career and everything such as that without missing a game. But once you get to the pros, I mean, people hit harder, people are faster, people are bigger, and they're just kind of human anomalies, really, into where if you take a hit the wrong way, I mean, it can bring anybody down, you know. And so, and then in football, once you get one injury, it's just a chain reaction. You know, you get a knee issue, that turns into a quad issue, that turns into a hamstring, that turns into a foot, that turns into an ankle, you know, and it just keeps going until all of a sudden you don't have a leg. You know, and it's kind of nuts to see how the chain reaction works in football. But no, I mean, I'm sure maybe one day somebody's going to get close. I know Phillip Rivers was kind of close, but you know, that's going to be hard to beat. Almost 300 games consecutively. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, it's definitely a different era now. But before I ask Vic and J-Mac their thoughts on this, I want to give a shout out here to Madison Ewan who's saying hello. So hello to Madison. How's it going tonight? We even have a new viewer tonight. He goes by the name of Garrett Sherrill. So I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to Garrett and say, how's it going tonight, Garrett?
Hi, Garrett.
And we will give you a shout out to his favorite teams, which is NFL, just so everybody knows. He likes the Washington football team. So
sick.
And Will, you let's see what you think about this, because his MLB team, and I know what Vic and J-Mac are going to think about this, but his MLB team is actually the Washington Nationals.
Oh my God, I hate him.
So there. All right.
I feel sorry for him.
You guys have made great offseason moves. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Not as good as mine.
So J-Mac, give me your thoughts on this Iron Man streak, because I know where you stand. You've always said that this Iron Man streak is not going to be touched. It's not going to be broken, because we know that it's a different era now, and these quarterbacks and the protocols that they have to follow. Because before, when Favre got a concussion, he could go back in, but you can't do that now. If you have a concussion, you're out, and then you have to go into a protocol, and you probably miss the following week if it's a severe one. So, J-Mac, go ahead and give me your thoughts.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's a completely different era, and you could say that, you know, it's completely different. But to do the math on it, 297 consecutive regular season games is 18 and a half seasons.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good luck.
Yeah, is anyone going to break that? I'm sorry, but there is no way that that's going to be broken. You're talking about someone would have to come in, a quarterback would have to come in and play 19 consecutive seasons without missing for injury, performance, anything. And
that could be like your wife, like you can't even take like leave for your wife having a child or anything.
Right.
You literally, like your career has to go so pristine and perfectly, like without flaw that no.
Yeah. No. And that's, and yeah, you could say what you want about, you can say say the interceptions. You can say whatever you want. 1-4 in championship games. It doesn't matter what you say about Brett Favre. The fact was, he was there every single week. He started all of those years in a row every single week, and that's something that will never, ever, ever be broken. Just saying that. Like Brandon Herrera said, Russell Wilson's at 144. By the way, Phillip Rivers, you say he got relatively close. He did. I believe he had 240. Yeah. So he was still 3.5 seasons away from getting close to the record. That tells you something right there.
All right, so Vic, tell me, what do you think about this Iron Man streak?
Yeah, it's with the way things are today. I mean, like it was proven this year with the concussion protocol, COVID, nobody saw that coming. That could ruin a streak. Also, just, taking games off at the end of the season just to recuperate like Mahomes did this year. I mean, Kansas City sat out their entire starting lineup, I think, for the game. Yeah. So, yeah, that streak is one that's never going to be touched, and it shouldn't be touched. I mean, that's high standard. That's being there every day for your guys. Maybe sometimes when you probably shouldn't have been, but it's never going to be touched. I mean, Russell is at 144, and he runs around, and it's too much risk nowadays. Like concussion protocol you talked about, things happen. I mean, that's just too high of a standard. That's never going to be touched. That's one of those that's up there. That's up high tier. And it's going to stick around forever.
Congrats to Russell Wilson at 144. You still have 9.5 seasons to catch up.
9.5. Like, 9.5.
Not only do you have to go 9.5 more consecutive start, like 9.5 years of consecutive starts, but his performance has to stay up to where there's no competition. Like he has to keep playing at that level. Assuming he doesn't have another child, like he can't take leave. They can't be a first-round bye and get sat on week 17. Like, no way. There's no way. And plus, we have to hope that his health stays in a good enough spot to where he plays for 10 more seasons. Like, they're not a chance. No.
Yeah, with the money nowadays, it's not worth it for him.
Yeah.
2030, by the way.
2030.
He would have to play through the end of 2030 to beat the streak. Like, think about that.
We are talking about a record that needs 10 more years to be. No, stop it.
Yeah, it's
not a chance.
That's going to be extremely. And if you ask Brett Favre now, he would tell you that there was multiple games he played that he shouldn't have played. He never should have went back in the game and played. But it is what it is, He was out there for his team, and he did what he had to do. All right. So now jumping into our next topic, this topic is going to be very interesting to see where everyone decided to go. Did you guys decide to go older pitchers or newer pitchers? So if you could have one pitcher, Game 7 of the World Series, any pitcher ever, who were you taking for Game 7? And Mr. Will Polson, I'll go ahead and start with you.
Oh, you suck. So
only on Wednesdays.
It's Wednesday somewhere. But I had a list. I had a short list of 3, and I chose between those 3 to figure out who I wanted to go with. And it sounds like a homer pick, but I have the stats to prove it. Going with Bob Gibson. Bob Gibson in his career in the postseason in his career, he went 7-2, and the only 2 games that he lost as a starter were his first game in the postseason and his last game in the postseason. In between, he went 7-0 with 7 consecutive complete games, 2 of those being shutouts, and hosting 87 strikeouts in those games, in those 7 games. He finished his career in the postseason with a 7-2 record, a 1.89 ERA in the postseason, 8 complete games out of 9 games started, 2 of them being shutouts, 92 Ks to 17 walks. That's dominance. Dominance is the easiest word to explain it. Bob Gibson, I mentioned it in the debate against Trey in the second round, or the second round of debates, I should say, that Bob Gibson literally changed the game of baseball to what we know it today. Before 1968, the mound was 15 inches high as opposed to 10, and the strike zone was bigger. And professional sports was literally so easy for this guy that they had to change the rules in favor of the hitter. He's phenomenal, and some of these postseason stats are after 1968. So we even see it with the shortened mound, with the tighter strike zone, and he's still dominant. It's crazy to think about how dominant he was. I had a couple other names. If they're not mentioned by everybody else, I'll mention them as honorable mentions, as who I considered. But Bob Gibson was my ultimate pick for who I would start in Game 7.
All right. So it's interesting to know if everyone's going to go homer status on this one and pick from their favorite team, because we know that Will just went where he went on that one. So now we're going to go to the Vic and see where the Vic goes. And my guess is that she picked an Atlanta Braves pitcher, but I guess, well, no, she's saying no. All right. I'm shocked. All right.
Girl.
The Vic, go ahead and tell me.
Greg Maddux was my backup in case somebody picked my first one. I went Cy Young. I mean, the dude pitched 22 years, ERA 2.63 over 22 years. He has a trophy named after him. The best pitcher in the league. The best pitcher in the league wins the Cy Young Award. This dude was unbelievable. In 1901, I mean, that seems like forever ago, because it was. But anyway, it was a long time ago. His ERA was 1.62. 1.62. Can you imagine that nowadays? That's crazy. This guy was clutch in the playoffs, if they had him back then. Who knows? Because they were like 80 years old.
They were just like, you win. Congrats.
Yeah. Played for 3 different teams, Cleveland, Boston, and St. Louis. Right?
Cy Young.
Right? Mm-hmm. Cy Young.
I think you're right, yes.
So, I mean, yeah, the guy was just, if I had to pick one guy other than Greg Maddux, it would be Cy Young. And, not to go, but Greg won quite a few Cy Young, so we're just going to say that. But yeah, Cy Young would start my Game 7, hands down, no questions asked, and he would shut him out and win it for me.
And I must say this, Vic. Of course you went with that pick. And you know why? Because that was originally my first pick, because I didn't think anybody was going to talk about that. But the funny thing about that is, well, the one thing about Cy Young, though, is that you were right about seeing what he could do in the postseason, because if you remember, he got to pitch in the postseason one time, and that was actually his final year, because his final year he pitched, that's when the World Series actually started to happen. That was the first year that the World Series actually started. So he never actually got a fair shot to pitch in postseason games or World Series games. So that one, I was actually going to be like, of course, you got to go with Cy Young. But since you took Cy Young, I'm like, you know what? My backup pick was actually Randy Johnson. Because the strikeout king, man, strikeout king, Randy Johnson. This guy, like every year, his just outstanding. One of the most feared pitchers ever in the history of baseball. And we've talked about it before just for sake of mentioning it. But, the only guy who actually hit a bird in mid-flight and shattered it, and its feathers flew everywhere. I mean, incredible. Randy Johnson, the big unit, incredible with Seattle. And then what's funny about it is when everybody thought his career could have been over, and then he goes to Arizona, and he still pitches really good there and still wins some Cy Youngs with the Diamondbacks, with his ERA still in the 2, and he's still averaging over 200-plus strikeouts a season. I mean, so if I really had to look at anybody besides Cy Young before the first one I was going to pick, I'm going to go with Randy Johnson, because I'm like, you know what? You've gotten us this far. I'm throwing you out there in Game 7, and I know you with your heater. He had some heat. That guy could throw. I'm going to throw him out there, and I guarantee Randy Johnson will get you that Game 7 victory that you need. The only thing I was sad for is I wished we could see him in that Atlanta Braves uniform. That was one thing that I was always wanting to see. and it was sad that we never got to see it. All
That would've
right,
been nice.
J-Mac.
Well, I hate to be that guy that repeats the same answer for 2 straight questions, but I'm going to tell you something. So a little history here. Nolan Ryan was my favorite pitcher of all time, if not one of my favorite players ever. He's the only guy that I have ever had a poster, any memorabilia of that did not belong to my favorite team ever. So Nolan Ryan is a guy that for me, man, watching him pitch was crazy. And he has 51 major league records, by the way. I don't know if anyone knows that. 51. Some of them include he has 5,714 career strikeouts. Yeah, I said that right. Could you imagine that? 215 career double-digit strikeout games. 7 no-hitters, 12 one-hitters, 18 two-hitters, and 31 three-hitters. That's just crazy. 15 200 strikeout seasons, 6 300 strikeout seasons. I could go on, but my point is I would throw Nolan Ryan out there against any pitcher in pretty much history, including Cy Young.
Ooh.
Now, unfortunately for Nolan Ryan, he never won a Cy Young, but the guy is just crazy. I would throw him over anybody, so that'd be my Game 7 pick.
Good
All
one.
right.
That's a good one.
Those were all great picks because I'll tell you what, there's even some pitchers nowadays that you'd be like, you know what, a Game 7, and I'm throwing them out there. You can look at guys like Jacob deGrom or
I'd taken
Scherzer.
Madison Bumgarner in 2014.
Madison Bumgarner was one of my 2 on my short list that didn't make the cut.
In his peak years, yeah.
Because Bumgarner, when you look at Bumgarner, he was one of the greatest postseason pitchers ever. Like, you could stick him out there, huh?
In 2014, he had an ERA in the postseason of .25.
Yeah, absolutely.
He averaged allowing 1/4 of a run an appearance. That's nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah, he's been one of the greatest postseason pitchers ever. And so, but now, you see, you slowly start to see him decline. That's where Bumgarner is now. But in his prime, I mean,
Totally.
It would be hard to not go with him.
Some people just have that factor, though. Some people just have that ability to step up. I mean, we haven't seen him in the postseason in a while, but even the last time he was there with the Giants, he was still really good. I mean, yeah, ever since stepping to the Arizona Diamondbacks, that's when his career started to dip a little bit. And he's not going to see it anytime soon. The Diamondbacks aren't great, but I mean, some players just have that it factor about them. They love the moment. They love the occasion. They can step up to it. So,
Yeah.
Honestly, if Madison Bumgarner was on my team and I'm going to the postseason, I'm still feeling comfortable, even if he's not pitching well in the regular season. He was on my short list, and then Sandy Koufax was on my short list.
Yeah, so there was actually another person, too, that Brandon actually threw out there that it's funny because this guy was actually on my short list, too, of like my 3 that I'm like, can I go there? But it was actually Curt Schilling because Curt Schilling was one of those fantastic postseason pitchers, too,
Absolutely.
That you're like, man, you could rely on this guy pretty much for anything. And I think when it shows how good of a postseason pitcher you are, is when you're a starting pitcher and they can bring you in the 9th inning to shut a game down when you're a starting pitcher, that shows how dominant of a postseason pitcher you are. And that's what Curt Schilling was. Like, he was just one of those dominant pitchers that I'm kind of surprised that nobody had him out there, really, but there's so many good pitchers you could go with out there. There's Greg Maddox, there's John Smoltz, and
I'd
even
start Mariano Rivera in a Game 7.
Yeah, and even
Lights out.
and mess around saying Josh Beckett. I mean,
Yeah, why not? He's got a ring.
sure.
03 Marlins, I think. He was
03, yes, because that
Even
was
nowadays, Lucas Giolito. I mean, come on. That guy's fantastic.
so good.
Yeah, that's why for me this one was hard, but I was actually impressed that a lot of you went with older pitchers.
There's no wrong choice in any of these.
No, Absolutely not, because you could go so many different ways on this.
Yeah, you're probably going to lean towards older pitchers just because with the new style of baseball, it's gone ball or nothing. And so whenever you see earned run average, you're thinking people are giving up home runs, and that was just something that didn't happen much back in the day. So their stats look better because it was a completely different ball and completely different game at the time. Different stadiums, different everything. But even then, I mean, there's still some pitchers that would stand the test of time. And I think every pitcher named in this situation was great back then would be great now. I mean, you can't tell me that Bob Gibson or Cy Young or Nolan Ryan wouldn't still be a dominant pitcher in today's game. Like if they were in their prime playing like they were playing then in today's game, they're still lights out. They're still going to be Randy Johnson too. I mean, Randy Johnson just retired not too long ago. He could still pitch in today's game. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and so I think for us too, like we like to go with the older pitchers is because back then you didn't have to rely on your bullpen as much because when you were a starting pitcher, you could go all 9 innings.
Like 190 pitches. And
absolutely.
Pitch the next day.
Well, I'll say that that's why Sandy Koufax was second on my list, by the way, Will. I do have to admit that because my point was going to be if someone else took Nolan Ryan, Koufax is a guy I could give the ball and say, go pitch. And he would go out there and throw 215 pitches. And they're like, you threw 215 pitches. And he'd like, yeah, so.
Koufax, I saw that Koufax threw 2 complete game shutouts within 3 days of each other in the MLB postseason. He has a .95 career postseason ERA.
Yeah, and it wasn't at those 2 games combined that he threw like 280 pitches or something. And
something like that.
Someone mentions that to him, and he's like, yeah, and what's your point? Or just blew it off, like, who cares?
Another day. What's the problem?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, but that's how it was with Cy Young, too. And his first and only post-season appearance that he got to be in, he pitched in like 4 games. Now, once they got to the World Series part, though, was that the thing is that he got to pitch in 3 games. He started game 1, and then he started game 4. And in game 4, he pitched 211 pitches. And then 2 days later, he came back out after pitching 211 pitches and then went another 9 innings and threw another 220 pitches and then was like, you know what? All right, I'm tired now. I've pitched over 460 pitches in 3 days. I finally need a rest. And then that's when they took him out and the Yankees were able to beat him because of the bullpen. But yet I'm still saying that's impressive, though. 460 pitches in 3 days. That's
and now you can't even get 80 pitches out of your 5th guy every 5th day. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. All right, so the next topic that we're going to talk about, we're staying on the baseball side of things. And we're going to talk about who our top 5 baseball players of all time are. So with this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'll start this out because my number 5 that I went with was Hank Aaron. And yes, I do have a few Atlanta Braves players in this, but my number 5 was Hank Aaron because Hank Aaron was the home run king at one point. But the thing that I really liked about Hank Aaron was that he did it legitimately. He never was said, oh, he took steroids. He used PEDs or whatever. He was that guy that you're like, no, he legitimately hit these home runs on his own without help. And Hank Aaron has always been that guy. Rest in peace, I will say. Rest in peace.
In a time when home runs weren't the thing, too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Hank Aaron, to me, actually kind of put that part going. He got the home runs going because once he started hitting them, then everyone's like, oh, we got to get these home run hitters in there. And that's what they started doing after Hank Aaron was in there. All right. So then number 4, Will, you mentioned him actually earlier when you talked about the most impressive individual record of all time with Cal Ripken Jr. And the only reason that I went with Cal Ripken Jr. is because when I first started playing baseball, I wanted to be a shortstop. And so I could look at Cal Ripken Jr. and be like, you know what? I want to be like him. But he wasn't only durable. Like, he had over 3,100 hits, over 400 home runs. And keep in mind, too, that he also won Rookie of the Year. And then the following year, after winning Rookie of the Year, he won MVP honors and then took Baltimore to the World Series and actually won their first title. It was in like, I want to say it was in like 30 or 40 years that he took him. So you win Rookie of the Year and then MVP and back-to-back and then win a World Series. I'm like, come on. Really impressive. So Cal Ripken Jr. was my number 4. And then when it came to number 3, this individual, and Vic, you might be like, really? But it was because once I kind of like, well, maybe I don't want to go with shortstop style anymore once Cal Ripken was gone. My 3rd was actually Andrew Jones. And that might shock a lot of people, but the reason why I really liked Andrew Jones is because I wanted my outfield game to be like Andrew Jones, so where he could almost get to anything in the outfield. People didn't want to hit the ball in his direction because he could literally track down anything. Now, the biggest thing about Andrew Jones that people always talked about was, he struck out a lot. I'm not going to deny that in any way. He was what we call the strikeout king because that's what he did. It was either a home run or a strikeout. But what he did on the defensive side, that's what I wanted my game to be. So
he's Johan Camargo. He's Johan Camargo.
Ew.
Okay.
Not good.
Strikeout or a home run.
But don't even put Camargo's
that's like Adam Dunn
with Andrew Jones because Andrew Jones is a lot better than Camargo ever will be.
I know it rile you up.
Oh, absolutely, because that man, Camargo, horrible. Andrew Jones, I would at least take on the defensive side, for sure. Now, with a game on the line without having not to strike out, well, maybe not so much, but defensive side, to save the game defensively, absolutely Andrew Jones. One of the best center fielders to ever play. So that's why I actually became a center fielder was because of Andrew Jones. Now, my number 2 favorite player of all time, I actually went with a pitcher on this one, and I mentioned it before. It was Randy Johnson because I thought that if I wanted to be a pitcher, I wanted to be like Randy because, you know what? He kept going. He was like the ageless wonder in baseball. It didn't matter how old he got. Still over 200 strikeouts every single year. Low ERA. When he pitched for Arizona, it was like in his late 30s, and he still only had one season to where he had an ERA over 4. The rest of his seasons were like 240, 250. That's how impressive this guy was. So I wanted to pitch like Randy Johnson, but I couldn't throw the heater like Randy could. I couldn't throw the curveball like Randy could, but I idolized him as a pitcher because I didn't get to watch a lot of the older pitchers pitch like Cy Young and just guys like that I never got to see pitch. So when Randy Johnson was in my moment, so it was really, really impressive with Randy Johnson. And then number 1, I think J-Mac knows and Vic probably knows who my favorite baseball player is of all time, which actually got me into watching the Atlanta Braves, and that was Chipper Jones, my favorite baseball player of all time. He was a guy that just something about him. He was a leader. People follow him. And one thing that I will say about Chipper Jones that I was hoping for is that I was hoping that when Bobby Cox retired, that Chipper Jones might decide to slide on in there and become a manager of the Atlanta Braves. Chipper Jones, I've always said, had one of the best eyes in baseball. He did not strike out very much. A career hitter of over 300, but that's what I liked about Chipper Jones too. He did not rely on the long ball in every game. He could get on base, doubles, singles, triples. Oh, absolutely. One of the best eyes in baseball.
Yeah.
And when Now keep in mind when he started his career, he started as a shortstop, but he shifted over to third base. Now, what I really respected about Chipper Jones too is that because he played third base for so long, that when we signed a guy by the name of Vinny Castilla,
Worst ever.
Chipper Jones said, "You know what?
Bad.
That's fine. I will move positions and I will go play in the outfield." And I was like, you know what? That shows me the type of leader that Chipper Jones was. He was willing to help the team any way he possibly could. And so Chipper Jones, thank you. He's been my idol. And I think it's funny, though, too, that he wore out the Mets so much that he named his son Shea. So I think
fantastic.
Larry, absolutely. I think that's so funny. But Chipper Jones, definitely, he's the one that got me hooked on watching the Atlanta Braves. So thank you, Chipper Jones. All right. Now we're going to jump to the bottom of the screen, and then we're going to go to the Vic. So, Vic, go ahead and give me your top 5.
Well, I'm not going to keep anybody in suspense. All of my 5, all Braves.
I figured they would be.
I'm not alone. Okay.
All right, number 5, Freddie Freeman. I mean, the dude is just solid. He's a good guy. He's the face of the franchise. He is MV free. I mean, that's our second, aside from Chipper, he's got our second MVP award, and he full on deserves it. And only great things to come from him, I feel. He's only going to get better. We're going to sign him long term any day now. And he's going to be solid. He's going to end his career. He's going to be a Brave for life, just like Chipper was. Number 4, the man that got me into watching the Atlanta Braves, Dale Murphy. How this man is not in the Hall of Fame, I don't know. The voters have got to be stupid. And I'm calling these smart baseball people stupid. Dale Murphy is a Hall of Famer. And that's all I got to say. Number 3, the night before the game, he made a comment, and we almost burned down the city of Atlanta. Then the next day, the man hits the single, solo, most important home run of our life, and Atlanta wins the World Series 1-0. Dave Justice. People hated him the night before. The next day, he was the hero. He is the man. He is part of the reason we have World Championship in Atlanta. Dave Justice. Number 2, Hank Aaron, Hammerin' Hank. He won the home run title legitimately. To me, he's always going to have the home run title. Barry Bonds doesn't own that. He cheated his way to it, and I'm sorry if that offends people, but he did. He cheated his way to a title or a trophy and a title, and he doesn't deserve it. Hank Aaron is a home run champion, and I will always argue that, and you won't be able to prove me wrong. Number 1, it's the Chip. It's Larry Jones. I mean, come on. He rescues Freddie Freeman from a snowstorm on his four-wheeler. They make a bobblehead of this, and I need that bobblehead. If anybody has that bobblehead of Chipper Jones rescuing Freddie Freeman on the four-wheeler, I need it, because that is the greatest thing ever. Chipper Jones, I mean, I have the VHS tape. VHS. I recorded on my VCR. I paused it to edit out commercials. That's how old school this is. Of Game 6. And at the end of the game, Chipper Jones standing down there just waving like this to his mom and dad. That's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Chipper Jones is the reason I'm still a Braves fan. He could have gone anywhere and made more money and had more championships, but he stood strong and he stood loyal and he was a Brave for life. Chipper Jones, my number 1 favorite baseball player of all time.
All right. So you're right there with me. I like that.
Yes.
I like that. So, because we all know what Chipper Jones meant to the organization of Atlanta. And to this day, to me, he still means everything to the Atlanta Braves.
He saved us.
Absolutely. When you think about the Atlanta Braves, he's associated with the Atlanta Braves. You have to put Atlanta Braves and Chipper in the same sentence. You have to. Yep. All right. So, J-Mac, go ahead and give me your top 5 of all time.
Yeah, mine. I will say that I have always appreciated what Chipper Jones has done in Atlanta. He's not in my top 5, but I feel like that's because I saw a few other guys play before him that it kind of got me hooked on baseball more than Chipper Jones did. Not that they're better or anything. They're just more favorite players for me. Number 5 for me was Frank Thomas. And it's because he's one of those guys that had all those career home runs, and never one time did anyone say he did it with steroids, even though he played in the steroids era. So Frank Thomas is a guy who played hard, played clean, and did a lot for the game of baseball. Number 4 for me, I've already mentioned him twice, Nolan Ryan. Obviously, you guys probably knew I was going there at some point. But
No,
Nolan
see it coming.
Nolan Ryan's number 4 for me. Number 3 for me is actually Tony Gwynn. Again, one of those guys I got to see play that, I mean, the guy was phenomenal. I saw something that said, and I have the picture, I'm sure, saved on my phone somewhere, saved on my computer. I know I sent it to Ace and my other buddy, Doug, who's a great baseball historian. Will, you and him could have conversations like no tomorrow. Doug, my buddy Doug Noakes, is just, he knows baseball better than any person I've ever met in my life. I sent him this, and it said that Tony Gwynn would have to go 0 for 1,206 in a row for his career batting average to fall under 300. Like, that's insane for a guy. And he wasn't a little guy, let's face it. Like, he wasn't one of those guys that hit and outran him to first base. Like, he was a big guy, and maybe that's why I appreciated that. I'm not sure, but he was always fun to watch. Me, number 2 is going to actually surprise some people, but I'm watching a Braves game, and this guy comes to the plate that I thought I had heard from back in the late 80s, and I'm like, I know that name, but I'm not sure if it's the same guy or if it's his brother and his first name was different or anything. And I hear Julio Franco's at the plate. And I'm like, man, if that's the same guy from the 80s, he's like 50. What? And then, they're like, this 45-year-old guy that was playing in the Mexican League was tearing it up at 435 batting average. So Atlanta signed him. And then he played another, 4 seasons. So Julio Franco's my second all-time favorite player. The guy he started in 81, and his last game was in 2007 or something like that. It's just insane, the amount of time that he played in Major League Baseball. And he had 2,700 career hits. But you play that long, you only have to get 100 hits a year or something, so it's kind of crazy. But and number 1 for me is John Smoltz, and it always will be. I can't tell you the reasons why. He got me into watching baseball. He got me to watch the Atlanta Braves. I always appreciated everything he did. I'll still remember his Cy Young year when he got a decision in every single start. Could you imagine that in today's game? He went 24-8 in 1 year. He got a decision in every game. Pitched into the 7th inning in 28 of the 32 games. That was unheard of these days. So crazy. But for me, it's John Smoltz. He'll always be number 1 to me.
All right, so J-Mac, I don't know if you saw that, but Garrett actually said that one of his favorites is Tony Gwynn also.
$80 on eBay.
I did, by the way, Garrett. Good shout out on that one. And Dave Esparza actually has Frank Thomas as his number 1.
But but he has Frank Thomas and Ken Griffey, Paul Konerko, Ricky Henderson, and Cal Ripken. So with Ricky Henderson, if you're one of those, if you were a stealing guy, if you like to steal bases, Ricky Henderson was your guy. That's the guy that you would want to idolize in baseball because, man, he made base stealing look good. That's what he did. And then we look at, we had another comment. So, Will, I don't know if you saw Madison's comment, but she said she's not a baseball gal, but you got her hooked on Pujols.
There's no E in the name, but yeah, absolutely. I put her on to Albert Pujols, and that's become her favorite player. She loves Albert Pujols, and he's obviously going to make my list somewhere in there. But yeah.
I figured he probably would since your list is
Absolutely.
full of Cardinals. So, all right, Will, with that being said, let's hear your top 5 Cardinals, your favorite Cardinals player of all time, because we know that's where you're going.
Yeah, so I actually made 2 different lists because I felt really bad that after I did my top 5, I realized they were all Cardinals, but it's our top favorite players, and why wouldn't my favorite players play on my team? I mean, obviously, due to memories and connections with certain players, I'm gonna like those players more. So, number 5, and strictly just because I didn't get to see him play, was Bob Gibson. Bob Gibson is one of the best arms, in my opinion, in MLB history. I argue that he is a top 3 pitcher of all time. I think he is phenomenal. It's just absolutely amazing the things he did on the mound, how he changed the game today. I've harped on that so many times. And I really hope I don't make you guys feel old, but out of both lists, the other teams and just the Cardinals list, that's the only player I have that didn't play in the 2000s. So I'm young, so please deal with me here. So yeah, Bob Gibson at number 5. Number 4, I have Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright is a guy, for me, who has made a career off of, who has been overshadowed by a lot of some of the game's greats right now. He hasn't won a Cy Young or anything like that, but he's kind of lived in the shadows of Clayton Kershaw. There was a year in which him and Chris Carpenter were fighting for the Cy Young Award, and they both took votes from each other because they were on the same team, and Clayton Kershaw ends up winning it. It always seemed like there was something with Adam Wainwright. And after he had Tommy John surgery, he knew he didn't have the zip on his fastball anymore. He didn't have anything like that. And one of the greatest curveballs in the game. But whenever it came to his fastball, he knew players would time it up because people have such quick bat swings that he started doing different releases in his rotation. He would start adding an extra step. He would start doing the glove above his head. Then he wouldn't do anything. He'd just quick pitch you. And it was changing timing of hitters to the fact to where he's 38 years old today, and he just came off of one of his best seasons. Adam Wainwright is phenomenal. Been a big influence for me whenever I was on the mound, whenever I played baseball. Absolutely has to be on my list. And speaking of people who need to be on my list, if we're talking about Cardinals, number 3 is David Freese. David Freese, hometown kid, St. Louis. You can roll your eyes, shake your head. David Freese has done more for our organization in one game than a lot of Cardinals players have done. Just for Game 6 alone. I mean, he's a hometown kid. And that's big for me. I love when the hometown kid gets to play on the team, especially when they grew up Cardinal fans or they grew up a fan of that team, and they get to live out that dream basically. Because I'm sure he sat there whenever he was growing up wanting to be a Cardinal and everything like that. Not only that, but he got that opportunity and then took advantage in the World Series, not only with the triple but the walk-off home run as well. It was a memory for me in 2011 at the age of, I was 13 at the time. That a memory I'll never forget. Probably the most important, most memorable thing about baseball that I've ever seen as a Cardinal fan, at least so far in my life. So David Freese is number 3. Number 2 is Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols is, in my opinion, is one of the greatest to ever step foot on a baseball field. Another guy that's never been questioned about steroids. Another guy that's never been questioned on anything like that. But he's still been such a phenomenal hitter. In his first, 10 seasons in the MLB, a 300 average, 30 home runs, and 100 RBIs at minimum. Those are numbers that you don't see. The king of consistency. And injuries have kind of plagued his career over time. And it's really unfortunate, but he's still sticking around. I still want to see him come back to St. Louis for one last run. I know this is his final year of his deal. I want to see John Mozeliak make a trade for him at the deadline, especially if we're in a comfortable spot like we should be after last night. So I want to see Pujols return to St. Louis. He returned to St. Louis in an Angels jersey and hit a home run, and it legit brought tears to my eyes. It was one of those moments to where I just wasn't ready for it. And I wasn't emotionally ready for it at the time either, apparently. Plus, he's an amazing guy off the field, does a lot with the Albert Pujols Foundation, him and everything that he does for his children. I know one of them has autism, and then he does a lot of autism awareness with his foundation as well. It's amazing what he does for the community and everything. And number 1 has to be the biggest influence on me when it comes to baseball, and that's Mr. Yadier Molina. Yadi Molina is by far my favorite player of all time. I grew up playing baseball, and I originally played third base, and then I wasn't getting starting time whenever I was playing, so I went to catcher due to some unfortunate circumstance that happened with an injury on our team, and I became a catcher that way. Yadier Molina was kind of like the main reason I wanted to become a catcher. Just watching the way he played defensively was inspiring to me. Whenever it came to picking off runners at first, throwing behind the runner, they tell you to never do that. Yadi did it almost every single game, and 9 times out of 10 would pick that guy off whenever he tried it. He's a guy who even now at 38 years old strikes fear in base runners. They don't even try to go on him. It's crazy because they sit there and he still has one of the highest pickoff percentages in the league, and he's facing a third, sometimes even a fourth of the runners that some other catchers are facing. What he does behind the plate is phenomenal. He's been the captain of the organization for almost a decade. It's crazy. Yadier Molina, by far the most influential player on the way I played the game, and me being a Cardinals fan, the most influential player on my fandom to the team. Yadier Molina has to be number one. And if he goes to any other team but the St. Louis Cardinals, you will see a grown man cry. It's not going to be okay. But absolutely, Yadier Molina, number one.
All right. So those were some excellent lists, and I'm okay with you going, all Cardinals, because a lot of people would, especially because it's their favorite team. So they're going to be like, you know what? I got to go with my top 5 players going to be on that team. But for me personally, there was just so many different players outside of the Atlanta Braves that had an impact on me and wanting to play baseball in the certain positions that I wanted to play. That's the only reason I went that route. Now,
just for memes, can I say the number one on my others list that didn't play for the Cardinals?
Sure, go ahead.
No, number one was G-Man Choi.
So
I love G-Man Choi.
So I'm going to ask you this question. Being a Cardinals fan, that I thought maybe you were going to go there, but where did you rank Ozzie Smith?
I mean, Ozzie's got to be top 10. I enjoy watching him play. The backflips before the games are always memorable. The "Go crazy, folks, go crazy" is a line that, as a guy who wants to work in sports media one day and be a play-by-play commentator, that line, I think the line resonates with me more than Ozzie Smith does, just because it was awesome to me. It's such a surreal moment to me to have such a good call on a play-by-play like that, to think of that line, just "Go crazy, folks, go crazy." It sticks with me. It's something I'll never forget, and I didn't even get to catch it live. But again, I'm 22 years old, man. It's one of those to where if I didn't see you play, unfortunately, it's harder for me to put you up there. You all talked about in your top list, some people were the reasons that influenced you to watch the game or influenced you to become a Braves fan, because all 3 of you are Braves fans. It's something that really influenced you and stuck with you emotionally, whether that be the person's play or their character on or off the field and everything like that. And that's kind of the same with me. I didn't get to watch Ozzie's play. It's unfortunate. I get to see Ozzie all the time because he's there for opening day, but I didn't actually get to see Ozzie Smith play. And he has to be up there just because I respect greatness. Same thing with Stan the Man Musial. I have to include him. He's phenomenal. One of the better players to do it in Cardinal history. But it's one of those to where these players have moments or have had experience with me that drew me to the Cardinals, that made me want to watch, and memories I'll never forget as a Cardinals fan or a baseball fan in general, including with the ones on my others list. Whenever we're talking about just baseball in general, there's some players on there that have moments I'll never forget. And so, definitely Ozzie would be on there in a long list, but top 5, I have to go with who influences me to watch the Cardinals and watch baseball and everything like that. So Ozzie's has to be left off that list, unfortunately.
All right. Hey,
and let's not forget, Ken Griffey Jr. He was number 6 on my list too. Ken Griffey was a huge influence in my watching baseball, because he came from Seattle, which is pretty close to us. So he just didn't, he wasn't a Brave. The Braves are what dragged me in.
So I think one person that I was surprised that J-Mac did not put on his list is because, he's talked about this individual multiple times, which was actually Ryan Klesko.
Oh, Ryan and his stash. Ooh,
Yes.
the Ryan
So,
stash.
J-Mac, that's why I was kind of surprised you didn't have him on your list, because when we were younger, I always told you that my favorite was Chipper Jones. You're like, yeah, but I love Ryan Klesko. So I was actually surprised that you actually didn't have Ryan Klesko on your top 5 list.
When I was a kid, Klesko was a favorite, and I think he was more of a favorite because he was a Brave. And then when he went to the Padres, I really didn't follow his career as much. I'll admit that. I always liked him as a player. Don't get me wrong. Anytime we played him, I was like, oh, Klesko's having a good year because I'd see his stats. But I didn't follow him as much once he left Atlanta. I think when he was on Atlanta, definitely when he played with Atlanta and they went to the World Series, they made the World Series run, he was my favorite player from that team. And I'll admit that hands down. But like I said, he went to the Padres, and I just I didn't really watch him anymore after that. And these guys that are on my list, I followed their career no matter where they were. So that's why Klesko didn't make my list. But Klesko would be in my top 10. So let's say that.
Shout out to Sarge down in the comment section who said I was his top 5.
I like it. I like it. All right. So now we're gonna go into our next topic, which our next topic is what we felt was our most shocking upset ever. So with this one, I will start with none other than J-Mac. So what was your most shocking upset ever?
Most shocking upset ever in any sport, correct?
Yes, in any sport.
I mean, that's tough. There's so many to pick from, and you could pick from a lot of upsets, and you're not going to be wrong with anything that you pick, by the way. And I've been rattling this around in my brain all day, trying to think if I can put a number 1 on this. And then I remembered that a number 16 seed beat a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. And now I am all day I had this name in my head, and I am like, man, I got to remember this team later. And help me out with the name. I can see them all in my
University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
There it is. UMBC. I knew it. I had the initials. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
UMBC. And when they knocked out a number 1 seed, I'm like, there it is. I've been waiting my entire life for this to happen. That's all I've ever wanted, is for a 16 seed to beat a number 1 seed. And when it happened, I was like, there it is. Now
my life is complete.
Seriously, I can leave this earth a happy man. Like, I saw a 16 beat a 1. And if it's the only time it ever happens, I got to see it, and I watched the game live. And let me remind you, anyone who didn't see this, it wasn't even close.
Nope,
it's not like they beat him on a 3-pointer in the last second. They beat him by like 18, I believe, was the 20. Okay, yeah. I mean, they beat them. They stomped down. And the team they beat is Villanova, I believe. Am I right? See, B about me. But yeah,
they
Virginia.
Don't matter. They lost. Who cares?
Right. But it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. They beat them down the entire game. I remember watching with 3 minutes left, and I'm like, there's no way. Anytime now, they're going to make their run. They're going to make their run like they always do, because you always see those teams beating them towards the end of the game. You always see those 16 seeds playing high, and you're like, oh, man, they're playing higher than they're supposed to. And then the number 1 seed comes back, and it just didn't happen. They just kept playing them. They put their foot on their throat and just went through the finish line. So that, to me, is the biggest upset, most shocking upset in sports history.
Which, J-Mac, when I think about that too, the one thing that you're talking about that I will say you're right about on that is because for multiple years before that, we kept going, oh, look, it's getting close. Because it kept getting closer and closer and closer. It was like the 16 seeds kept closing the gap. And you're like, it's got to come anytime soon, because there was some 7-point games, some 8-point games, some 5-point games. You're like, it's getting there. And then it just would never happen. And then you're like, oh, man. And then it finally happened. You're like, yes, it happened. All right. So, Mr. Will Polston, go ahead and give me your most shocking upset.
Sorry, I know so much about that game. I actually have a T-shirt of UMBC from when they won that game, and it has the score on it, and then it says UMBC in initials down the side, and it says "You must be Cinderella." Oh, it's such a great shirt.
Where'd you find that shirt? I actually
I had to buy it from their school website immediately after the win.
Oh, okay.
Some UMBC student was probably very upset because I bought one that they couldn't get, and then the supply went down. I don't care. It was awesome. It's part of history. You had to do it. But yeah, 74-54 over Virginia. They were 25-1 odds, and not only that, they almost covered the spread. They were given 20.5 points. Literally one more point away, and UMBC covers the spread. That's ridiculous, especially as a 16-1. But I had UMBC on my short list, and I have already seen one of my other ones in the comments section. So I'm going to go with the one that nobody's mentioned because this is so obscure that nobody's going to have. Back in the early 1900s.
Oh, here we go.
A horse by the name of Man o' War,
Mr. Ed,
won 20 of 21 races. The only one he lost was to a horse named Upset, who was at 100-1 odds, and he ended up defeating him. That is the greatest upset of all time. Man o' War went on, had 21 races in his horse. What is a career? I don't know. I'm not much of a horse racing guy, but this is amazing. I actually didn't even know about this until I was looking into some of the other upsets. And obviously, early 1900s, none of us were here, but Upset is the name of the horse that ends up beating him at 100-1 odds. The only race he managed to lose. It writes itself. It really does. And so I thought that was amazing. 100-1 odds to me was nuts. I've never seen odds that spread. The biggest I think I've ever seen are about 50-1, and this is doubling it. So, and to name it Upset just made it that much cooler for me. So I had to go with that one. I think that is the quote unquote biggest upset of all time.
All right. Vic.
it's me.
Okay.
I have 5 words for you. 5.
Quack, quack, quack. Oh.
These 5 words should tell you exactly what upset I'm referring to. Are you ready?
Do it.
Do you believe in miracles?
Yep.
Do you? Because the United States hockey team did
Miracle on
in
Ice.
1980. The Soviets, I hate the Russians. I hate them, I hate them, I hate them. I even hate white Russians because the drink is horrible. I don't like vodka because it's Russian. They're their favorites. I mean, they were the Goliaths of the hockey world. I'll say it. But man, we took them out, and it was the most amazing thing. I didn't watch it live because I was like 9. I didn't give a crap about hockey at 9, but I watched the movie with Kurt Russell, and let me tell you, woo, got the chills, got the feeling proud. I mean, took down the best team in the Olympics, and it was the most beautiful thing in the world. Not a lot of people know that wasn't the gold medal game either. That was just to get to the gold medal game. But that will go down as one of the greatest upsets in history because it was so unconceived that the Americans could win that our ragtag group of college hockey players could beat these huge Russian dudes. And we did. And Russia's never going to be the same because we don't like them. That's my biggest upset.
All right. And I figured somebody was going to take the Miracle on Ice, which the Ducks beating the Hawks and Mighty Ducks. Yes. All right. That definitely was an upset.
They pushed me away from the Mighty Ducks, Tim. They made me stop talking about the Mighty Ducks.
Or you can even say the Giants when it comes to the Little Giants when they played the Cowboys in the movie The Little Giants. But my most shocking upset to me in sports, and I'm sure people have heard you've heard this one for a very, very long time. Think about September 1st, 2007. There was a team in the college football that went in as 33-point favorites. And it's the Michigan Wolverines when they went in as 33-point favorites, and they lost to Appalachian State.
Yep.
That to me, and not only did they lose, but when they lost that game, it actually knocked Michigan out of the top 25 because everyone's like, there's no way they're going to lose. 33-point favorites. And you lose to Appalachian. And the interesting thing is there was 106,000 people in Ann Arbor when it happened. Not only did they lose, but they lost in Michigan.
Well, and so not. I'm sorry, Ace, not to cut you off, but not only did it knock Michigan out of the top 25, it started the road for Appalachian State to become Division I. That was their first marquee win, and then it was 2014, and then they became a Division I team in the Sun Belt Conference. So that started Appalachian State to come out of Division II and come into Division I. So that was a huge win, a bigger win than you could ever describe for Appalachian State.
But if you remember, though, it was kind of when you're watching the game, you thought that in the end you're like Michigan had a chance to win it, but it was that blocked field goal at the end that cemented it for Appalachian State. That once you saw it, you're like, there's no way that just happened. There's no way that Appalachian State just beat the Michigan Wolverines. And so when I think about the most shocking upsets, like that's one that's always been cemented in my head for so long. And the only reason that is because when people talk about college football and they talk about how they're like, oh, you know what? It's college football. This team has no chance at winning. But then you got to look back at Appalachian State, and you're like, no, you never want to say that nobody has a chance at beating a team, because this shows you anything can happen. It is football, because that Michigan team was supposed to be, what was probably supposed to be the best college football team that season. And once they lost, you're like, man, they're definitely not the best college football team. After what I saw against Appalachian State, yeah, they didn't lose any more games that season, but like that doesn't matter. That was one of the biggest upsets ever in college football history, and I don't know if you'll ever see it again. I hope you do, but I don't know if you will. And I'm looking at some of these comments, and I'm like, huh. So Washington football team beating Steelers. Yeah, that wasn't really one of the greatest upsets because a lot of us actually called that. A lot of us said it was going to happen. And then Nate saying the Jets beating the Rams, but he said he was just kidding on that one. But that's all right.
Douglas over Tyson had to be mentioned, but it was mentioned so many times in the comment section. I just let it be. Well, I let the fans have that one. That's all you guys.
Yeah, because once I saw that was actually one of them that I was going to pick. But then once they said, I'm like, I was like, no, I got to go with Appalachian State in Michigan. But I was actually surprised that nobody went with that.
Oh, it was my number one, but I saw it mentioned in the comment section like 4 times, so I went with upset.
Oh.
Because horse racing in the 90s, or not the 90s, the early 1900s, I should reiterate. Yeah.
I was waiting for Will to be like, the most shocking upset ever. We're gonna go into some college softball, and we're gonna like that's what I was waiting.
Funny you mentioned that. No, don't have one for college softball.
I was seriously ready for it. I'm like, Will's gonna go college softball here. And I thought that J-Mac was going to go college football.
I mean, I could have. I like I said, I had a bunch of them rolling around in my head, but I still can't get over that 16-1 and the fact that they destroyed them. Like that will forever stand in my mind. Always, I'll never forget.
So good.
And then of course, when it comes to Vic, I figured somehow or some way she was going to get a Ducks game in there. Somehow or some way, I figured she was going to get one of her teams in there.
I can be unbiased when needed. I mean, I could have gone, when Denver took down #1 Seattle Supersonics. I mean, Dikembe Mutombo. That's when the finger waving started.
Yeah,
no. But I'm not. Yeah, there's been some great upsets by the Ducks, but I mean, when they took down Oklahoma, that was pretty cool. But when they took down Washington last year, that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's the Miracle on Ice. That's the biggest one for me. That was just that's a heart ringer right there. That's a feel good one.
All right. So now that was that was actually our last topic, but now we jump into our mini game, Aces mini game.
I hate this.
Speaking of things that don't feel good, Vic's here.
Yeah, so Vic is here, and she's not going to feel very good on this one. So
no.
So as everybody
what player
knows,
are we moving to the Twins today?
Yeah, so everybody knows that our division that we're going to be going over today is actually the NL West. And just before we make our moves and our trades and our free agent signings, I want everybody just to quickly let everybody know who their teams are in the NL West. So J-Mac, who is your NL West team?
The Rockies.
Who don't have Nolan Arenado, by the way. He's on the Cardinals.
Yeah. Nate the Great, who is your NL West team?
I'm the Dodgers.
All right. Will Polston.
I'm the Fathers.
Dodgers.
No, I'm the Fathers. Padres.
You're the
I guess
Padres.
I'm the parents.
All right, Vic.
Arizona Diamondbacks.
Sound excited. Come on. Great future.
And then my NL West team is the San Francisco Giants. I can't believe I had to say that because I've never been a fan of the San Francisco Giants. I can't do that. All right. So today we're going to actually start with J-Mac. So J-Mac, you can go ahead and tell me what your first move is. Are you going to offer somebody a trade? Are you going with free agents?
Who am I going to trade?
You don't even have Aaron. You can trade
Charlie
Story.
Blackmon. Yeah, Charlie Blackmon.
Yeah, I'll take Story.
Oh, I mean,
Come on. Fernando Tatis needs a backup.
yeah, okay.
Will, your team is good enough.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm definitely
make it
not
better if
going
it
to
makes you feel
Will's
better.
team. I guess what I would do is probably I would try to offer a trade. I would try to trade Ian Desmond, which I get isn't
What do you
going
want,
to
like
get
a bag
me
of
much.
balls?
Yeah, I know.
Some gum?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to go Ian Desmond for a prospect to the Pirates.
What?
Do you want to take Do you want to take Ian Desmond on basically for free? Is what he's asking you.
For a prospect, Vic. I'm just asking for a prospect.
Deal.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's the move. We got Ian Desmond off the books. Somehow the Rockies became worse.
Yeah, I know. They just became worse. I get that.
Is there a particular prospect you're interested in, or?
No.
Just one towards the bottom.
Yeah, I mean the Pirates. What prospect do they have?
O'Neal Cruz. I think he's in jail, but it's fine.
Oh, gee, thanks, Will. I mean that really helps.
I hear he's available.
Oh, yeah. The next one I'm probably going to sign a free agent, and like who's going to come to Colorado? I'm going to put out that there's not going to be any pitchers that want to come there because they'll give up 40 home runs a season.
It's not realistic.
Just because he's unsigned and he can rake once in a while. I'm probably just going to sign a guy like Tyler Flowers.
Nice.
Whoa.
I actually thought he was okay in Atlanta. He played well when he did play. Not better than Darno, I'll give you that. But yeah, I'll just sign Tyler Flowers.
Nice. I like that name.
He at least
All
gives me a
right.
solid backup at the catcher position. So
All right, Nate the Great.
So I'm gonna sign 2 players. They're okay, but Dodgers do need some third baseman and some bullpen help. I'm gonna sign Todd Frazier. I'm also gonna sign Chase Anderson.
Nice.
Okay. Now, with that, I think you're going to have to. I think that might put you over the limit of players, so I think you have to cut a player.
I didn't check that.
Yeah.
You might have to get back to me on that.
Got some bombs.
Yep. I will get back to you on that. So go ahead and look up how many that puts you at, and then if you have to cut a player, decide who you're cutting or sending down to the minors. All right. Will, what's your move?
Let me pull up the Padres roster real quick because I completely forgot about cutting players. Yeah. So I was going to address catcher, but if we remember from Wednesday, Mr. J Max sent me Wilson Contreras, so I don't have to do that anymore. So that's big. I think what we're gonna do here is we're gonna cut Jose Castillo as well as Anderson Espinoza. And for the bullpen, we're going to add relievers Ken Giles and Shane Green.
Oh, dang it. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, just like that. All right. So Ken Giles and and Shane Green. So that means we go to the Vic now. Your moves.
My moves. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, I am going to sign free agent Mark Melanson
Nice.
to the bullpen, who's I'm going to trade later, but not at the moment.
But we'll get to that later.
I'm also going to sign free agent Edwin Encarnacion,
Ooh.
who's going to be traded later, but not at the moment. I'm stacking 2 teams.
Oh, there's a second team in the mix.
I'm stacking Seattle because they've got a great young core coming up.
Okay.
Okay.
Weird.
All right.
So Edwin's going to be my DH there.
So you're just gonna go full American League. NL, we're just like, you know what? We're not gonna partake
Pretty
in those
much.
shenanigans.
Pretty much, yeah.
I like it.
Wow. I was not expecting. I was not expecting her to be like, I'm gonna make 2 super teams instead of 1. Like it was the Twins forever, and then she's
Yeah,
like, I got one more.
Well, the Twins are stacked now, so I need to, fill up
Yeah, the
another one.
Twins got like Real Muto and Bauer and like Yachty and
Adam Wainwright,
Adam Wainwright. Yeah, it's a sign. Just ripped my heart out.
Nelson Cruz. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So I was kind of looking at. I was looking at the Giants because that's my team, and I'm like, oh man, this is rough.
Rough.
So I decided.
Okay.
It's my third baseman. I'm gonna cut Matt Beatty.
Who?
Matt Beatty.
Oh, Matt Beatty. Okay.
Okay.
And then as for on my bullpen, I'm also gonna cut Joe Kelly.
No way. That's awesome. Oh, he's so coming to one of my teams. I love it. He's gonna throw at all the Astros players.
Wait, you just cut Joe Kelly?
Yeah, he did.
There's too much on my thing, so yeah.
His bullpen's too loaded. Got to make room for Chase Anderson.
Well, all right. So then that comes to me. So with that being said, thank you, Nate, for the free player.
Yeah, right.
Because I need some the Giants need some bullpen help. So
Beautiful.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Kelly. So I want to say thank you.
Hey, no problem.
So I will go ahead and so Kelly now is on the Giants.
Hey, just so you know, I'm gonna blow up the Angels roster because
I'm gonna blow it up.
I'm gonna blow it up.
I'll keep
All
an eye on
right.
it. If Rendon hits the market, I'm listening.
And then so I was also looking and I'm like, maybe I need to sign. I thought I was gonna sign a starting pitcher, but then I'm like, I think I'll wait on that starting pitcher right now because I'm gonna try and make a trade later, but not currently, not right now. But I am gonna try and make a trade. But so I'm looking at free agents and I'm like, I need some outfield help. And I don't know if anybody has picked up this person yet. I don't remember. But I was going to go with Puig. Has anybody picked up Puig yet? All
Nope.
right. So Puig is now coming.
We
to
have better
San
taste than
Francisco.
that.
You know what?
We're better GMs than that.
Yeah.
Have you heard the Twins roster? It's ridiculous right now.
We're out of
Right.
control.
Right. Yeah. That Twins team. Your
No
Twins
room
team is
for
stacked.
Puig on this team.
I need to get a little bit of help on this Giants team, so I got to go ahead and pick up some outfield help. So I'm going to go with Puig.
Beautiful. I love it. Absolutely.
So that was our 2 picks being made this week. So how's everybody feeling about their picks this time?
It's exactly what I wanted. The names that I wanted fell to me. We got them.
Yes.
So nobody came in and stole your picks or nothing?
Not this week.
Nope.
This week we're doing good. I saw those 2 names. I mean, the first thing that came to mind with Padres, especially after losing Kirby Yates, was bullpen help, and got an established closer in Ken Giles. Got a nice setup man in Shane Green. I'm happy.
Yeah, I got a great DH for my Mariners and a great bullpen closer guy for him too. He just hasn't been traded. He just hasn't been traded there yet.
It's all in the works.
Yep, she's getting ready to trade them again. So
Just trying to work out the salary cap, No,
There is no salary cap.
I got some money off the books so that I can try to sign a free agent for the Rockies. But bringing in Tyler Flowers, at least I have a veteran presence in the dugout. Other than that, like my backup was calling up a guy from AAA. So at least now I got a guy that can bring some veteran leadership.
of course. So
We're worried about a salary cap. We're actually worried about money
No,
because I ain't worried about money.
no.
My checkbook's wide open.
Your checkbook's wide open.
Checkbook's
My
I'm gonna go
non-existent
ahead.
checkbook is wide open.
I'm gonna go ahead and pay $1 billion for this person.
And Tim, I'm trying to make the Mariners better. I'm stacking them. I hope you know
right?
that.
They're getting Edwin
I am their-
Encarnacion and
They're Northwest. Yeah, I don't
Mark
want to leave them
Williams.
alone. I want to make them better.
right?
You know?
somebody could pay $3.2 million for a baseball card, then maybe go hire for some of the actual players.
Yeah, I signed. We signed Ken Giles to a $1.4 billion deal. It's fine. Nobody can compete.
Right? Like, what? Oh, man.
Anybody want to outbid me? No, just kidding.
Well, so Vic actually, I was actually going to take Melanson and actually get him back on the Giants because that's where he originally was before
That
he
would've
went
been
to
rude.
Atlanta.
You
So-
would.
Rude. That's rude.
Can I bring a player out of retirement?
No.
Can we
Please.
bring one player out of retirement?
Yeah, right. Can everybody get one All-Star that used to play on the team? What is this game, by the way? Do we know what the rules are? It's awesome. Somehow I got
Are there
Arenado.
rules?
Yes. We've established what the rules were before we get to that team. If a trade happens, then guess what? You have that player. So
I got Arenado. It's so good.
So then
Okay.
once that, see, you were that close though, because if we would have went on tonight and the trade happened tomorrow, you would have been screwed.
Oh, it's awesome. Oh, my Cardinals team looks so good now. Roberto Osuna, Jock Peterson, Whit Merrifield, then Nolan Arenado on top. Oh, stop.
It's getting there. It's definitely getting there.
My National League's
Jock
ridiculous.
Peterson went to the Cubs.
How dare you?
He did.
Who
He
went to the Cubs?
Jock Peterson.
But I signed him before he actually got signed to the Cubs.
Did you?
He just recently joined the Cubs like yesterday.
Yeah,
Did
he
you?
I brought him to the Cardinals on Wednesday.
Let's run the
Yeah.
replay on that. Do we have the
We
replay?
can. Go check on the ASAP. We'll check it out and then go check the safety bomb.
Check the
on the
replay on
card.
that.
And then
Think I care. I don't
So-
even need him at this point.
and then just went to the rival.
He's just
So-
there for a bench bat.
So what it sounds like, it sounds like Vic is trying to make two really good teams.
Two super teams.
Will is trying to make all of his teams even.
Hey,
I'm trying to make all
Well-
of my teams even. J-Mac, I'm not sure what his goal is at this point in time.
I would
well,
make
I mean,
all my teams even if they had a fair chance to start with.
to be fair, other than the
I'm
Twins,
working with what I got here.
all your teams are even. So keep it up.
I have the Blue Jays. I don't really need a lot of work to do there. I have the A's, so they're pretty solid. And then the rest of the teams are they are what they are. So at least in the Rockies, I can try to look towards the future. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we go back to the East on Wednesday, and that'll be nice in the American League. I hit the Rays, but after that, I'm hitting a wall, and I'm hitting it hard. Okay, I'm running into the Tigers and the Rangers. Okay, I'm riding this high while I can until I join Vic status, and then we're gonna figure something out. I
And,
gotta
and
find
maybe
some good players on those teams to trade to my other teams.
all right. And Nate, what is your goal? What is your goal?
Make every team better except the Angels.
I like it.
I like it.
He wants to blow up the Angels.
What team did you trade Mike Trout to? I forgot.
The Reds.
That's disgusting.
The Reds.
I hate it. I'm gonna make a team that competes with your Mike Trout Reds. I'm gonna do it.
And
You still have no bullpen.
And now keep in mind, when he traded Mike Trout to the Reds, he got a bag of potato chips.
Yeah, he
So
was
it's
like,
not-
"Yeah, I'll trade you for a washing machine and an equipment manager."
Draft
Like
picks
I was like,
cash
"Sweet,
consideration.
glad the Reds have have enough cap space to make that happen."
Yeah.
Good God,
Right. But in
hands off the
overall,
walls.
hey, I really enjoyed this game. I
I'm
like,
having fun.
yeah, I love this GM game. Of course, Vic's like, forget this game. I don't like this game.
If I can make more than 2 moves a week, I'd like the game.
You take all the players before any of us got a chance. So first I'm going to take Trevor Bauer, then I'm taking JT Real Muto, and I'm going to take Nelson Cruz right after that. Like, you're just going to keep going.
You
What else am I going to do?
you
You're
did,
going to do
but-
2 moves a week like the rest of us.
yeah. You picked up these players and then you traded them to Minnesota.
Right? Everybody's
them.
working at that. By the way,
The rest are going to
Twins-
Seattle.
the Twins GM is going to win Executive of the Year. It's going to be ridiculous what they do. I mean, it's crazy. But I'd like to say I'm going to compete, but I'm kind of throwing in the towel on the American League Central already.
Yeah,
I
and
haven't even
so
got there, and I don't want to get there.
and so the interesting part about this is when we get to our final time that we pick our players and trades and free agents and everything, and then when we have to vote on who we think has the best teams, thing is you won't be able to vote on your own team. You're going to have to vote for somebody else.
Boo.
Why?
So
Why?
because that's what the rules are.
I'm voting
That wasn't
Vic.
when did that become a rule?
Just saying.
I'm
Because
voting Vic.
because everybody would vote on their own and they would be like, wait, that's not really
Are we playing Pirates of the Caribbean? Is that what we're doing?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Voting for the Pirate King?
Ahoy, matey.
Or was it a swan?
Boy. All right. Well, that
Ooh, somebody
was
thinks she's
Ace's
sexy in
mini
Jersey
game,
girl.
and so keep in mind on Wednesday, the next
Sexy in your Jersey. Show it some love.
division that we're going to be talking about will actually be the AL West.
Why?
Ooh.
Why do we have to do that?
Why do they exist?
Yeah, right. I was hoping we'd go to the East. I was enjoying
AL
fun.
West. Ooh.
So get
I'll
ready.
trade you teams, Nate. You could have the Rangers.
Okay.
I'll take your Angels and blow them up myself. No, I'm kidding.
Blow them up, right?
First, I need Mike Trout back, though.
All right. So, J-Mac, you got 30 seconds to go ahead and say any remaining things. So you got 30 seconds.
Well, I don't know if I was going to do this live. I've been thinking about it all day, but I've already said something to him privately. But Will, you've made this network better. I'm not denying that. It's been a pleasure, man. Like you're young, but you got so much knowledge, and you bring a lot to this network. And I, for one, am going to miss that and miss you on this show. I think you brought something to this show that maybe we hadn't seen before, and it's going to be very, very big shoes to fill. And I don't know if we can or not, but good luck to you in all your endeavors, man. Thanks for everything you did for us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so, Will, you will always, no matter if you're live on the show or not, you will always be part of the Sports Minute team. That is one thing you will always be part of. When it comes to Sports Minute, it's affiliated with Will also. So just keep that in mind too. You always have a family right here on Sports Minute. You always have that family right here. And so thank you for everything you've done on the network. And everybody knows too that even though you're not going to be live, you're still going to be leaving those comments because you're still going to be watching Sports Minute, and you're still going to be doing this GM game every single week. So
better believe it.
So you really cannot. You won't be completely gone. You can't disappear. You can't get rid of us like that.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for giving us the time that you've given us on Sports Minute. So thank you for that. All right, and Vic, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, you brought something that evened out this show a little bit. I mean, made it a lot fun. Made a lot of fun. I had someone that sometimes on my side against those two up there. It wasn't always picking on me for talking about my Ducks all the time. So yeah, I'm gonna miss you definitely. But good luck, man. Everything you get, you just totally deserve. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, and then Nate, you have your 30 seconds.
Why? Why does Nate get 30 seconds?
Because
that
I
a
played
rule?
part of the DM game too. So what I was anyway, Will, good luck on your next chapter. And you did, like everybody else said, you definitely did play a big part in this network. We will definitely miss you over here on ASAP. Now, moving on, I decided that on Monday I will be giving live updates on Sports Corner for the Vegas Golden Knights and the Sharks game.
There you go.
All right. So, last thing, Will. I respect you, but I wish the worst on your Chicago Bears. I wish the worst on your Dallas or on your Tampa Bay Lightning. I wish the worst on them, and I wish the worst on your St. Louis Cardinals. So there you go. I hexed them all three. I hexed them all three. I hex them all.
Definitely needed
Definitely
that.
Lightning, man.
All right. So we want to thank everybody again for watching. Oh, hold on. I almost forgot one thing. We do have to hit on Anchor really, really quick. So J-Mac.
I never got 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, Will. You go ahead.
A farewell show. Don't even get 30 seconds.
Right. You have a minute. Actually, I'm going to give you a minute. You have a minute.
Oh man. Honored. But yeah, so I mean, really didn't expect everybody to take part of their 30 seconds to thank me for being on the network. But thank you all so much, whether it be fans listening at home in the comments section, whether it be, you three that are always on screen with me, whether it be Nate, you backstage, everybody else on the network that's listening. you guys have been amazing. You guys have all been a part of the journey as well. You guys talk about, I'm well ahead of my time. You guys have mentioned that so many times, whether it be because of the way I speak or whether it be how I hold myself or whatever it is. Everybody's been so kind to me on the network, whether it be in the comments on the team or anything such as that. So I do want to say thank you to everybody that's been involved in ASAP in any type of way, whether you be, Freddie at the top of things, controlling everything, reaching out to me, trying to get me onto the network originally, to everybody at Real Talk whenever I first started, to everybody on Sports Minute, Sports Corner, and everybody in between who's been a part of it. I know I've debated Trey a couple times on this network and everybody else. I mean, I've interacted with everybody on ASAP. So I want to thank you all. And then there's people in the comment section that have never been on ASAP, but they still are down there, commenting on the takes and everything like that. And that's so phenomenal. The just that in general, to see those comments come up and to see everything, just it makes you want to keep going. It makes you want to talk. It generates conversation. And so keep doing that. I know I can speak from experience that it makes me want to keep talking about a subject. It lets me know that you guys are passionate at home about what we're talking about. So I'm sure the three over here who are on all the time will be very, very appreciative of it as well. But everybody at ASAP, I want to thank you. Definitely from the bottom of my heart, you guys have made it awesome. And thank you for welcoming me into the family just about as seamlessly as possible. So thank you, everybody. And it's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much, Will. Thank you. Got to give you a round of applause there, buddy. All right. So, J-Mac, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about Anchor?
Yeah, Anchor. We download all of our audio to Anchor. And so if you can get a chance to watch us live tonight, that'll be on there probably within 48 hours. We get it downloaded, and check us out there. You want to listen to us, long road trip, couple of lunch breaks, whatever it may be. Listen to this. All of our shows are on there. You got Sports Minute, Sports Corner, Real Talk. And if you want to start your own podcast, which a few people here have done, they give you all the tools to do that. You start absolutely free. There's no cost to you up front. And so we just appreciate all of you listening, watching, whatever you're doing.
All right. And then, of course, last but not least, there was a few of you people who commented in the comments tonight that were actually new, that have never commented. So guess what? Whenever you comment, you get entered for your chance to win an ASAP Network t-shirt. So, Garrett, you are now entered to try and win a t-shirt. I can't remember right off the top of my head who else we had. So, of course, well, Madison, you already won one, but we also have Matthew Perry who commented tonight. So all you got to do to try and win one of those shirts is come on and comment, like, share. Garrett's saying, woohoo, absolutely. You have a chance to win a shirt there, brother. So we'll add everything up at the end of the month. If you have the most comments, you're going to take home one of these awesome ASAP Network t-shirts. But if you cannot come on and comment because you're too busy, or you know what, you're like, I'm just nervous, I don't want to comment. Well, that's still okay. You can still get one of those shirts. So the other way you can get one of those shirts is by spending $14.99 plus shipping and handling, and just hit anybody up in the network and let them know, hey, I need one of those shirts. And we will get that to you ASAP. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a fantastic night. Will, thank you again. Sad it's your last episode, but everybody have a fantastic night, and we will see you again on Wednesday for another episode of Sports Minute. So everybody have a fantastic night.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.